Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, and Scott and I are here today for our show this evening. And this has been a fabulously exciting week for me. So I have been really jazzed and on this level of self-exploration, and I was going to tell you about it, and then let me tell you what happened. I'm sitting in my chair, all ready to go. And Scott, before I know it, I'm rolling forward and I'm rolling forward. And so I think this is a better story to start with, that I have this wonderful new glass mat. You know how people put the plastic underneath their chair, Scott? I have a piece of glass that my chair sits on, and apparently the casters on my chair really like the glass because I'm just rolling around. So if you see me scooch off the screen a little, I'll be back.
Okay. Well, we start the program off a little differently each time, and this time I've heard of Google Glass, but that's ridiculous. Inside joke. Sorry, apologies to our audience. Maybe we should go right to our open and see if this time we can get it all right. Do you want to give that a try?
Yeah, let's go.
So that's the smoothest it's ever gone. It's on.
That is. I have to tell you, so there.
Well, there's a story behind that. Do you want to save that to the end?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so that'll be a treat. Everyone who stays to the end gets to hear why So There is such a great inside joke.
And on top of that, why it made it into the title of this particular episode that we have for you planned. So jumping right in, what Scott and I decided to do, we decided to spend this last week thinking of 3 questions that we could ask each other that then the other person would answer in a way that would provide helpful tips and inspiration to everybody that joins us each week. And so there.
So there.
That was not a very confident so there.
And you know, we are so scrupulous about this. We don't have a clue what the other has in mind for the other, and we didn't even go so far as to say who'd go first or who'd go second. I'm going to leave that up to you. Do you want to go first or second?
Scott, your name's first in the title. How about
Jess,
a clap? Yeah.
Jess and Scott.
Say that again.
It's the Jess and Scott show. Your name is first in the title.
Not in tonight's episode.
You're kidding.
I'm not.
How'd that happen?
We're the Scott point, Jess counterpoint, so there.
All right. So does that mean that you ask me the question first, or do I surprise you?
Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I'll take the first one.
All right. Now let's see if I can read my handwriting.
Now explain to the audience better than I did what we're doing.
Okay, so for all of you guys, what we are going to do is we're going to ask each other a series of questions, and we decided on 3 each. And so what we're going to do is we'll take turns. I have prepared 3 questions that Scott has no idea what I'm going to ask him, and he's going to provide answers. And then Scott's got the same thing planned for me. So we're going to see, you're going to hear completely off-the-cuff, unplanned dialogue this evening, and I'm super excited because this is the first ever show of its kind for Scott and myself. And let's go, Scott. You ready?
Okay. Point, counterpoint.
Point, counterpoint. What was, or still is, the hardest part of starting your own business specifically?
Oh. Well, you know, it's a moving target because no sooner do you accomplish one thing than there's another challenge. And for me, I think it's the business side of business because I'm having a blast right now. I'm creating product that I think is really good. People are saying that it's fine. They're going to either hire me or refer people. Lots of accolades, you know, all of that. But how are they going to pay for it? You know, so I'm setting up. Well, I've got a PayPal account, but how do I adapt that for this business? What about taxes? What about business licenses? What about, you know, the entire business side of being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur? And to me, that's the hardest part for me right now, and I'm in, a combination of denial and, denial and denial. So I guess I'm happy because I'm not thinking about it. But tomorrow, September 1st was supposed to be the day that I had everything lined up, and I'm going to count on you to help me out on this, Jess. So
Sure.
that's my answer. That's my answer. Here's an easy question.
Good. All right. So I like that answer, and that's very honest. There were a lot of things on the business side that I still don't like to do, and I still feel that I'm.
Well, I wish you hadn't said that because I'm going to look to you to be my model. Dude, I just realized something.
Yeah.
I answered that entire question with my eyes closed.
Did you? No, I did not notice that.
Well,
I thought you were looking up a little bit.
No, maybe I did. We'll see it in playback, but wow. So now you know how painful that was.
That was pretty painful. Way to be honest and straightforward and bring it to the forefront. And yes, I am here to help in any way that I can. Model after me. Your likes and dislikes will probably be different. So that's always a plus.
Did you want to answer your own question, or shall we just go on to?
We didn't plan that into this. I don't know. Should we answer each other's questions? I guess that would be the counterpoint, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right, let's do Oh man, I didn't. Okay, so for the audience, I did not think of answers, so all of my answers are also completely off the cuff. So the hardest part for me is productization because of the type of things that I specialize in. It's really hard to organize them in such a succinct, small package that makes it easy for somebody to understand what I do and benefit from the product. And so as I'm productizing, I'm coming up with slightly more expensive products. And where I'm at right now is to try and create some packages that are smaller in value, or excuse me, smaller in cost, but still very valuable in their packaging to create an introductory way to let somebody work with me and see the work that's done and how my team works, so that we can, so that we can create a relationship to build upon and take together into the future.
Yeah. And because, especially you, but we're both working in the wild, wild west, it's not as if someone has already invented the wheel and all we have to do is step into a space that's mature. It's a moving target, and what was true last month is not going to be true next month. So you actually have a pretty hard task that you've set for yourself to describe and define what it is in such a manner that people can see the correlation between the value and the services that you provide.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty brilliant.
Thanks.
Okay, my turn.
Your turn.
Jess and I met each other because we both attend the same hangout, and now it's a hangout on air on Tuesday mornings. Ray Hiltz puts it in his Google Plus lunchtime hangout.
We're just on the West Coast, so it's breakfast.
Yeah, it's breakfast for us. And so what I thought I would do is I would take excerpts from 3 of those hangouts and show them to Jess and our audience, and then you get to respond to them in any way that you want to.
Right on.
So you are pretend like you're in the film strip, and at the very end, you'll be the person called upon.
Got it.
All right, so here we go.
Hi, everybody. It's Ray, and it's Google Plus Tips and Topics Lunch Hangout. And we got a great group of guys today. We're going to be discussing, well, some of our pet peeves about Google Plus, and imagining if we had a one-on-one with Vic Controda of Google, what we would say to him and ask him to do to make the Google Plus experience better. No, not just for ourselves, but for our clients as well, and for anybody else who's having a hard time with Google Plus. I'll get the ball rolling because there's a pet peeve that I've had for a long time, and I thought they might have addressed this when they did the big change in May. So Vic, if you're listening, can we have a simpler way of switching accounts on mobile, to go from my profile to my page accounts? I mean, really, Facebook does it. So that's what I'd like, because it's to log off on your mobile and then have to log in as your business account is way cumbersome.
I'd like to be able to do a hangout with 4, 5, 6, 7 people and have it go into a private area in a private way, so I can have a private hangout that's not published, or I can publish it my will and my whim.
Anyone else?
Well, Ray, I just want to say you really stole my thunder, because you coming out of the gate with that was my one thing. I have all totaled, like professional, I have 15 pages. And if you're going to foster engagement with it at a page level, at a business level, there has to be a better way.
Be contrarian today, and so to speak, about anything that bugs me about the platform, other than Google. I don't know that Google has really ever answered the question of what Google Plus is intended to be.
I think that's a great question. Two good points were raised by both of you. Is, what is the end game? What does it look like? And I think that's one of the frustration points for the casual user, is that as it constantly changes and evolves, which I think is wonderful for us who are on here experimenting with it and trying to figure out what it can be and looking to see the potential that's out there. I'll sit there and talk to clients and say, listen, if you put a gun to my head and said, choose one social network that I need to invest in for long term, I would tell them Google Plus, because of all the additional features and functions that come along with it, and the interconnectivity of everything, and obviously the benefit of search. But it's hard to get that for the user to get out there and play around with it when there's not a simplified version, or there's not a way to tiptoe and walk into it. And it's hard because it's not Facebook. That might be one of the best things about it, is that it's not Facebook. It's trying to do a lot of things, and we can all see the potential.
So I'm going to respond to that. Anyway. So there. I think a question would have been easier. So this is my response to that video. I look at Google Plus as a little bit scary. It's almost like when you first take the training wheels off of your bike. If you can remember back to that time, you had an idea of what it means and how easy it can be once you get the hang of it. But then there's this whole other dynamic once you have to do everything that you learned already and add another dimension of gravity and balance in there when you take those, and there's that element of fear. And I think that, speaking beyond Google Plus, wherever somebody is in their digital strategy, I'm still just getting a website. I'm trying to figure out how to add a call to action to my website instead of just having it be like a yellow page ad. I just got on Facebook and I have this page and I paid somebody for all of these likes. Now what do I do? What's this whole idea now that I thought a Facebook page was free? Why do I have to advertise? Wherever, all the way up to I have all of these followers and I have this community. Now how do I monetize it more? How do I take all that stuff and tie it into what I'm doing in my print marketing and my networking, and how do I make all those work together? Wherever you're at in all of that, when I'm thinking about Google specifically, another way to look at it would be like if you're ready for something like a 25-piece puzzle and you open the box and inadvertently the 0 was left off and it's a 250-piece puzzle or a 2,500-piece puzzle. So realistically, all the pieces are there, but it ended up walking in thinking one thing and actually finding another. And I think that's true for any digital marketing, actually. And so when you're thinking about the online strategies and where you're going to be and how you're going to use it, that's one thing to keep in mind, is that, always plan for a little bit more. You just never know how much more you're actually going to need to spend, whether it's time to spend, resources to manage, people to provide service and stay in touch. So I think that's a huge piece of thinking about digital strategy. So what's your response, Scott?
Well, you never fail to disappoint. The analogy of the puzzle was just brilliant as usual, and I guess if I were to have a thought on it, it's that it's much more complex and it's bigger than we thought that it would be, and I only wish that Google had an easier way for people to find how to join Hangouts and Hangout on Airs, because every time I have one, I have to hunt and peck and search for it and always feel like, oh, there it is. And don't quite understand it. So I would say, if the question is about Google and what we do to improve it, I'd like to have a better way of being able to join this very complex new society that we're creating.
Very cool. And I apparently didn't answer the question.
You did. You did great.
Something different. Oh, that's too funny.
No, you're keying off the very last part of the video, and since there is no question at the beginning of the video, you did great.
Thank you. All right,
I hope I do as well.
I think that I liked your answer very much. All right, you ready for your second question? Hang on, let me.
No.
No? All right, well, so there, you're going to get it. Or you're going to get it, so there. All right. You get excited about semantic search. Tell me 3 reasons why, and only 3 reasons.
I think my microphone just went crazy. Now the question is, why am I excited about semantic search? And actually, I'm excited by semantic search. 2 of them are, I'm excited, I think it's a great thing, and 1 of them is, I'm excited about it, I think it's a terrible thing. The good thing about semantic search is that it takes the power of the internet and it really makes it more useful, because it answers questions that people have, and it becomes an increasingly more useful tool. So that's one reason why I'm very excited about semantic search. Second reason, I suppose, is that now that about sums it up. I'm trying to think of a. Well, I'll go on to the cautionary. I'm afraid that with semantic search, almost everything, it harkens back to the idea that there's no such thing as an objective history. History is usually written by the victors, and with semantic search, there's a value system that is underlying what they choose to bring up as important and how they choose to make the connections. And I don't know who they are, and I don't see any checks and balances in there. So whereas it's all new and shiny, what would happen if it got into the wrong hands? And are we being manipulated by people who are unseen and unknown? And it's beyond our comprehension how it works in the first place. So I'm excited by it, but not in a good way. And then I would say that would be the complete answer, the well-rounded answer to your question. 2, not 3.
That's okay. 2 is good. I thought you were going to have like 10, so I tried to narrow it down.
Well, I made the first answer too broad. I should have split it in 2 somehow.
You could have. You very well could have combined them or split them out. You're right. So
what are your 10 reasons for liking semantic search?
Well, you know what? I don't
What's
even.
Your 1?
I was going to say, I think I only have 1. And my 1 is that it allows us, with all of the branding, knowledge, and effort that we've always had, to use that knowledge more effectively, and we have less guesswork on how to bring it online. Now, it still is very different and hard depending on what we're doing and how we're doing it, but it doesn't seem as difficult as it used to, because we always had to compete with people who were figuring out how to game the system. So we kind of had to game the system too, or at least know what the rules were so we could do that. And I like the semantic search idea, because we are going to be able to take a step back and go, let's really focus on the message. Let's really focus on the experience. Let's really focus on the customer. And our search engine is going to take care of getting our information to the people that want it. So I feel like it's helping our amplification process, instead of not only us trying to amplify our message and all of the stuff that's out there on the internet, and at the same time having to compete. I think so. From that perspective, I think it's actually better.
Yeah. That's a good answer. I wish I had said that.
I liked your answer very much, though. Yes. All right.
You know, we're supposed to. This is supposed to be point counterpoint. This is like a love fest. What's the matter with us?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a love fest when we all have different opinions about it.
All right. So there. Okay. Here's my second one.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Let's go.
We've got an amazing panel today, as usual, and today we're going to talk about profiles. What information do you give when someone sees your profile, and do they leave asking you more questions than they started with? So let's get on with the topic today, profiles. First, let's just jump in there and say, okay, what's your pet peeves about the profiles they come across on Google+? Anybody?
Incomplete ones.
Cryptic. I hate cryptic.
What do you mean by
trying to be
cryptic?
cute. You know, they try to be cute and say something like frogs, ... And you're like, what? What have I learned from this? Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Profile images.
Oh.
And not having one. Not having one.
Not like Bluehead or
Yeah. Well, Bluehead is the worst, but also if it's just an awful, you know, it really needs to communicate something, and if it communicates the wrong thing, I don't like it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Too many hashtags.
Oh, God, yes.
Somebody might be new to it. You know, they might have it incomplete. You know, I don't like an egghead or a blue face or any of that stuff, and you try to encourage people to be real. It depends on, you know, if they've been trying to be active on one of these platforms for a while and their profile still looks like that, then they're not very serious about it.
I think that's a really good point, Randy. If somebody doesn't fill out or optimize their profile, that's okay, and they might not understand fully how to use it, and I think G+ offers you a lot more options. But if people aren't sharing, they're not posting anything, I mean, that's the other thing, and I don't think you'll ever see that on other profiles. Maybe LinkedIn's the only other one you'll see that where people will create a profile but won't share anything. I mean, I don't think there's many people out there that are on Facebook and has never shared anything. Certainly on Twitter, even if, you know, they're just retweeting or sharing other people's stuff. So if you haven't filled out your entire profile, I mean, I'm going to do a little bit of searching. We talked about this last week. I want to see that somebody's in there for the right reasons, and I'm willing to give somebody a pass if they're just, you know, they don't have to know everything. Because I think we all admitted last week that we're still learning on the fly and it's still evolving. So just share or give us some piece of information to know that you're a human and you're here for the right reasons.
Okay.
So there.
Well, here's what I would add to that. And I thought it was funny to see myself down there, and it's a different wall in my office, so at least it's not the same background. The same background. When it comes to profiles, one of the things that I've noticed lately, that as people are circling me and I'm trying to decide where I might want to circle them outside of my general big circleness that when I follow everybody who circles me, I circle them back. I go to their profile to see the types of things that they post, and they post the same thing in 10 communities, and they do that 4 or 5 times a day, 7 days a week. So you see nothing but multiple things in all these communities, which may or may not have responses, and you can't get responses from, you know, if you find one that has some responses, you might actually see 2 of 5 actually have responses, and then if you're curious, you have to read through all of those, and that's really confusing to me. That somewhat is probably a function of how the platform works, but it also tells me that the messages are, this goes into one of my pet peeves, plastering the same message everywhere just because you think they're the same people. How about that?
Can I quote you on that?
Yeah.
I learned today that anyone who does exactly what you said, posts the same content on different platforms all over the place, are going to be penalized by Google. They're going to see that and they're going to you.
Excellent.
So
thank you for sharing that, because that's good to me. I think that's great.
I didn't know that until today, so we learned something new.
Yeah, that's fabulous. All right. Well, so cool. So profile pages are treating more and more like our websites. So the same is true on our website, right? If we have 2 websites with almost identical content, Google knows that. And that does not work in our favor when we're trying to have multi-microsites or whatever strategy you might be employing along those lines. Yeah, right on.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Question number 3. Name 2 ways you are planning to use internet marketing that you are exploring today or have been thinking about since you started your business.
Well, 2 ways that I'm going to be using what? Internet marketing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the ways I'm using internet marketing is that I'm creating a lot of content. Maybe in the last month, 100 pieces worth of content.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of them is between 1 minute and 3 minutes in length. And each one of them is a very interesting topic that has a nice open and a nice close. And almost all of it is content that belongs to someone else. And I have given this content to them. At the very end of each one of these snippets is a little tagline that says post-production by social media for healthier communities. So when they share throughout their communities these snippets of primarily hangouts that they've had with their guests, they are going to be advertising my name at the very end. Someone who doesn't care about the post-production, they just want the content, that's fine. There are going to be a few people there saying, boy, that's really great. I'd like that for myself. Who put that together? And then they'll be able to see who it was, and that's how I'm advertising. So it's very subtle, very surreptitious, and we'll find out if it's effective or not. I suppose.
That's awesome. I said that's awesome. Honestly and truly, that's very well thought out, because that's a great way to break into the market, to show the product, to show the level of work and professionalism, and to show that wonderful editing brain, and then to remind everybody where it came from.
There you go.
That's right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll cross our fingers and see how that works. And I suppose the other one is that I'm presenting some of my own content on the web as well. It's in communities. It's in the form of commenting on people's posts that they have, and as about 9 out of 10 will not be at all related to what I'm doing or specifically, but occasionally someone will post, for example, a video that someone posted a video of Seth Goodwin today, and it was a 2007 video, under 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes, and I commented, here's an example of a video that has legs because it's so short, it's good content, but it's also brief, and that's the reason why we can watch it again today. Well, I think that's kind of a form of advertising, because I'm specializing in short form videos, and I'm just reinforcing the idea that if you have great content that's packaged in small packages, then you're going to be able to utilize it over a long period of time. So that's how I've been using internet marketing. How about you?
Yeah, I wasn't ready to answer this question.
I know. I'll give you a pass on it if you really want me to.
No. I'm gonna stay here. I didn't reread the questions at the beginning, so my creative brain has not been thinking about it. So we'll probably get done and I'll go, that's what I should have said. The first thing that I would like to do is to, well, and I have just started this, and that is to create, like in our +2 takeaways, typically I create small presentations. I want to repurpose some of that stuff and actually start using SlideShare more. I know that that's something that will benefit me, and I know that it is something that I need to spend time on, so I've been trying to create the content to do some of that. The other thing is, if you've ever been to my website, I like to, well, I'm a horrible drawer, but I'm really good at making simple drawings that tell a decent amount of information or are starting points for conversation. And so I'm trying to also incorporate more of those in addition to in addition to just written blog posts that I share out on the internet, I'm trying to get pictures that can be shared out on the internet, and then of course the SlideShare. So more imagery that is that relates what I do, what we're trying to achieve with digital strategy, and then short presentations that have a takeaway and have value that can also be shared. So those are the two places that I'm looking at.
Okay, outstanding. I've seen some of your work, both in terms of your presentations and your simple drawings, and they do work. So more power to you.
Thanks.
Are you ready for the last one?
I am. Here we go.
Lunch hangout with an amazing panel. Once again, this has always been fun. Today we're going to be talking about engagement. What does it take to get a level of engagement, certainly on Google+. So yes, it's a lot of work. And what does that mean for us? If you're running a small business, do you have time to do a lot of content online?
I think there's just such a flood of content out there that it's extremely hard for a small person, small business, small engager out there to rise above the noise or try to beat it.
So anything to add, Bill, to the conversation?
Well, I want to make sure I understand what Randy's saying, because as this group knows, I have some kind of pronounced opinions on sending out content. I was posting out once or twice a day on my stream. I'm finding the engagement level and activity and following level, if I post 5 or 6 times a day, is significantly higher.
Yeah, a volume. You do have to have a volume. The problem, I think, with what we were saying earlier is some people are not very selective on the volume that they send out. They just rapid fire stuff and just push it, and that tends to quieten. Some people turn the volume down on you when you're doing that.
So yeah, so Mark is basically saying, his tip of the day on Sunday was a link between posting frequency and engagement. And a lot of people say that Google Plus in particular is not a very engaging platform. And I think you said, Bill, last week that you don't get as much engagement on Google Plus as you do, say, on Facebook.
A guy by the name of Bill Vick told me one time, or told a group one time, that engagement is important. It starts with engagement, but the bottom line is if somebody buys something, that's true engagement. We can throw all the stuff in the world out there, and people may like us, but we want them to respond to what we're doing.
It's like you're talking about engagement based on readership or readership.
No,
I don't see that as
Bill, you got to understand something. What Ray and what we're trying to talk about is these social channels and how they work, right?
No, I understand.
You're totally right. I totally agree with you. The ultimate is a dollar in the bank. That is what we're all after, because.
But engagement is more than a one-way channel. Engagement is not simply you reading what I post. Engagement is you responding. Then we've engaged. Until you respond, there's no engagement.
Or
That's
share,
exactly what we're talking about.
Or share, or pass it along and say, hey, Bill, I just read this thing that Ray wrote. This is probably right up your alley. Take a look. And because you and I have a relationship, you're going to trust what I'm sharing with you. Or you might come back and say, Randy, that was a piece of crap. I didn't get anything. Ray was way off like he typly is. And
Ray never writes a piece of crap, Randy. Never.
And on that peaceful lunch note, we're going to sign off.
All right, so where to begin? Yes, there is a direct correlation with the amount that you post and the amount of people that respond to you, mostly because you're seen. If we all have, I'm going to use Twitter. If I'm just on Twitter's website, or I'm using my Twitter management tool of choice, one of the things is to just show the live stream. And if I'm looking at that live stream, I miss out on people who only post once a day because I'm not on Twitter all day long. And the same would be true for Facebook and for Google Plus and for whatever other platform that you're on. The less you post, the more likely you are to get missed. However, at the same token, there's no reason that once you have a body of content of your own that you can be very selective in what you share and reshare your own content in those streams to get the posts up to increase the amount of engagement. Whether that be comments and visits to your website or whatever. And I actually, in that one, mostly agree with David, because in the end, whatever gets these people to a sales funnel and gives up some piece of information to me that says they want to hear from me, they sign up for my newsletter, they request a free report, they download one of my ebooks, they listen to one of my radio shows, whatever, whatever the case is, whenever they're identifying themselves on my website or on my social media platforms or on my blog, that's when I know that the engagement that I'm doing is actually working. So this is where I differ a little bit in terms of branding, because I think that there's this perception of what we need to do online. But if I'm trying to think, the other day I'm trying to think. Shoot, I was talking about the gal who cuts my hair. She's an independent hair salon. What she does on social media is very different than what I would do on social media, or that what you would do, Scott, on social media, because our work is in this space. And so we have a different set of things that we're trying to convey and message and teach people about, that anybody who needs a haircut can go look her up. Now, do I still think she needs to be on social media? Yes. Lucky for me, she just got a website and she's been cutting my hair for 10 years. And I'm really excited because I can book my appointments online. And that actually got me so excited, I was like, I need that for my website. So I might have some place where people can say, yes, I want to meet with you and get me on your schedule, because I know this is when you just have meetings all day and meet people and network online or whatever. And so, but her barrier to entry was higher because she is the work. She's doing all the different pieces, and she's not online at all for the work that she does, for the services that she provides. So when I'm thinking about that, I really feel like, does she need to post 10 times a day about things? No, because then it would actually end up being spammy, I think. So her objective is going to be, one, very different. Two, it's going to be based on what other hairstylists in the physical geographic area that she is in are doing online, and then to make a strategy to figure out what you're all doing the same so she can do something that's different, as my example. So I would say that ultimately engagement, in terms of the frequency of posting to the number of people that are involved, I think it's going to also vary based off of industry. So that's my thoughts.
Very nice. Local is different than other, I think, too. And it never really occurred to me that you find out what the local competition is, and then you play off of that. But that's wise. It just occurs to me that this is the reason why most businesses need to get help, a helpmate in terms of their social media, not so that they can wash their hands and do nothing about it and delegate it to someone else, but because they need to be able to spend most of their time cutting hair or whatever it is that they're doing. And then if they have guidance, such as from you, then maybe they're able to compete locally and still do the business that brings in the money in the first place. Well, that's
exactly.
So there.
And yes. All right. So that was my third question. What's your answer? Wait, I just answered it. What's your answer to that?
I just did.
Oh, thank you.
I just responded.
Okay, you just responded. You're good to go there. All right.
I was hoping that would serve. If I have to come up with something different.
That's perfect. That's perfect. It just made me want to talk more, which made me think that that's why you weren't there.
Well, what do you have to say to what I said? So there.
one of the things that I have started helping people with that I talk to, they're like, I can't do all that stuff. I said, you know what? Find the lowest common denominator and make sure it's different than what somebody else is doing, and make sure that it's true to why you're in business. And if you do those two things, you're achieving your differentiation. You're online, and you're giving people the opportunity to see that you're online and that you're not spending all your time online, so you actually probably are good at what you do. I mean, you know, there's also a balance of that, and I get skeptical when I see people that say oh yeah, I'm online all day and I'm having all these conversations, but you're pretty sure that it's pushed out content. And remember, I'm in favor of scheduling and sharing content throughout the day from a brand recognition and an engagement opportunity. And then when I check in, whenever I'm going to check in, we can have those conversations. But I also believe in not posting and running, right? I'm not going to post something new and not be around to have a dialogue about it if it's something that I'm generating for myself. If it's something I'm resharing, it's a little different in my brain, and that might be, depending on who you are, you may or may not agree with that piece. But you've got to have meetings, you've got to generate business, you've got to actually deal with the business side of things, and then you get to do the technician stuff, which is what makes us love what we do and why we're doing it in the first place.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a great way to kind of wrap up this episode of the Jess and Scott Show. What do you think?
I have a bonus question for you.
Oh, I was sort of hoping you'd forget that.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. We could just have one bonus question.
All right.
All right. My bonus question. Are you ready?
No.
No, this one, I think you're going to really like this one, actually. Okay, this one, I almost made it first, but then I was like, no, we'll make it the bonus. Why did you decide to have a professional picture taken for your online profiles?
Oh, man. Because I don't even know who it was. Someone wrote a post someplace, and they talked about a professional profile picture. And somehow I read it and it rang true to me. And I also have a friend who is a professional photographer, and I know what a great job she does. And I've never been able to figure out what it is about professional photographers or people who are talented in that area, because I can take the same camera and I can look at the same scene or the same person and, click the same shutter, and yet it never comes out the same as they did. In fact, I think I remember, it's coming back to me a little bit more. When I was in college, one of my dorm mates was majoring in photography. So every afternoon, he'd bring all of his prints into the dorm room and would spend a half an hour talking about what makes this a snapshot and what makes this an image. So I got two educations when I was in college, what I was studying, and then art, an appreciation of real fine photography images, and that kind of resonated with me as well. So that's the reason why when someone said, well, you got to have a great profile picture as a great first impression that people will make, because that's all they're going to go with at the very beginning. And then they're going to see your name, and then they're going to see your 2 or 3 words, and then they'll see your tagline, and then they'll see, further and further. So hopefully it's inviting enough that at the end of the day, they've actually connected with you. But it all begins with a profile image. That's the answer to your question.
That's awesome. And by the way, everybody, this is something that I took to heart, and I've always just taken my own photos and snapshots and was like, oh, that's a good one. That was a pretty good action shot. I can crop that one down. I was really inspired by what Scott said, and I'm getting my profile pictures professionally done in 2 weeks.
So we're going to see that in 3 weeks. We're going to premiere your profile picture. Not that the one that you have right now is bad in the least. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think the one I have right now is the best one though that I've had so far, and so I think that that's yeah. But I think we'll take it. We'll take it to the next level, and we'll see. We'll see what comes across in my profile picture. If it actually, if she does, and I'm seeing the same person by the way that Scott saw. So she,
Boy,
Brenda, if you're out there.
Brenda, the pressure's really on you now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, Scott, I actually really enjoyed this. I think it's very fun, and I love the fact that you have yet again figured out how to bring video into our on-air hangouts in such a way that is fun and creative and new.
Well, it was it just took the pressure off of me because I could just let other people, worry about the content. Next time we're going to have to figure out how we can be a little bit more combative or something. This seemed too much like a love fest tonight.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were going for anything else. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right. We got the point done. Now we'll have to work on the counterpoint.
On the
right?
counterpoint. Yeah, exactly. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Scott.